are these people?
What do I think about the Intercept? I was a founding subscriber to the Intercept. I was a big fan of Jeremy Scahill. I was a big fan of Glenn Greenwald.
Yep.
Didn't really know Laura Poitras much, but certainly they were famous early on for, the were partnering and working. They were basically spun out of or spawned off of WikiLeaks, but they were Pierre Omidyar. We've since learned all about him, and we're going to talk about him in a little bit.
So here's Ryan Grimm.
So,
who puts out this article, which isn't from him. It's from we'll get to it. I think I have that. The Intercept has appointed an inaugural CEO, and we're announcing a new board of directors. We're going fully independent. It's a gamble, and we'll be relying on readers to support what we do. So, here it is. David Bralo. That's who it's from. They appoint a CEO and announces new board of directors. Annie Chamble will be the Intercept's first chief executive officer, and Maria Ressa and Pat Christensen will join its new board of directors. We'll get to this lady in a bit. But I have the article. Don't worry, I got some breakpoints. We're gonna need them.
Okay.
So, the Intercept is pleased to announce that Annie Chamble will be its inaugural chief executive officer, and Nobel Prize-winning journalist Maria Ressa and Omidyar Group managing director Pat Christensen. So keep that in mind. He's Omidyar Group managing director. Okay. So we'll just hold that. Will join its new board of directors. Annie's experience, talent, and unique skills make her the ideal leader for the Intercept as our organization enters its exciting new phase. She was previously the chief operating officer of the Center for Investigative Reporting, where she oversaw all businesses operations for the organization and served as interim CEO in 2021. Prior to serving as CER's COO, Annie focused on institutional fundraising and philanthropic partnership for CIR, significantly expanding the organization's foundation giving. Last year, Annie acted as a consultant for the Intercept and was instrumental in planning the organization's spin-out from First Look Media. Throughout that process, it quickly became clear to all of us that Annie's business acumen, knowledge of nonprofit journalism, and strong alignment with the Intercept's core investigative mission made her the right choice for the CEO job. God, you could lose those words for that. Just saying. Marie and Pat will play a crucial role in the Intercept's future development as the org continues to diversify its funding sources and support the brand of hard-hitting journalism that has made our newsroom one of the most impactful the past 9 years. Their tenacious leadership through moments of crisis and dedication to serving vulnerable communities seamlessly aligns with our mission. It's truly a privilege to count on their counsel during the consequential phase in our org's life. Maria is the co-founder and CEO of Rappler, the Philippines' leading investigative news site. Her work has received multiple international awards, including the Golden Pen of Freedom and the Knight International Journalism Award. In 2021, she was awarded for the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition of her efforts to safeguard freedom of expression, quote unquote, which is a precondition for democracy and lasting peace, a globally recognized leader in independent journalism. Maria brings her expertise as a journalist and entrepreneur in digital media with a commitment to protesting press freedoms and breaking down disinformation campaigns. So, Buzzsaw coming into Buzzsaw. It's Aaron Mate. This really is news. The Intercept has appointed Maria Ressa to its board of directors. Ressa was also recently appointed chairperson at Move Democracy, a project for the National Endowment for Democracy, a U.S. government-funded intel front. Congrats to all. Mazel tov, if you will. You called this, I think, Indy. Right?
I did in the morning. I said, well, let's watch for the NED or USAID funding. That was at about 10:50, and sure enough, 4:00 in the afternoon, we get the buzzsaw, and he finds it. Well, and I should have seen it right away, but Maria Ressa was actually she was like the chair of the NED. It's not just like they don't, look, they gave this woman a Nobel Prize. And we'll get to Pat later on, but Maria Ressa alone. Rappler, I've heard some good things. I've heard some things. I'm not really sure. But I know that Maria Ressa has smeared Julian Assange. I'm sure you're going to get to that. But yep. I said this morning, look for it, and buzzsaw.
So yeah, here's Maria Ressa joins World Movement for Democracy as NED chairperson. And that article writes, the World Movement for Democracy at the National Endowment for Democracy has named Maria Ressa, co-founder and CEO of Rappler, Nobel Prize winner, chairman of the steering committee, leading the fight for media freedom in the Philippines. Rappler digital news organization received international acclaim for hard-hitting journalism or corruption. Where did we hear that? Just a second ago, we heard that from The Intercept. So someone copy and pasted this article. Anyway, Ressa will lead the World Movement Steering Committee, which advises and connects a global network of civil society activists, scholars, parliamentarians, thought leaders, journalists, and funders committed to strengthen democracy. I didn't know there was more than one parliamentarian. I thought it was just that one. Just that one that causes problems. That parliamentarian. So here we go. People clapped back at Ryan. Ryan, get out while you can. Every day from now on spent working for the NED is a fat 20 penny nail in the coffin of your credibility. Without leaving very publicly right now, both you and Jeremy are dead men walking with regards to your journalistic reputation. Peace. Anthony Sin replies, it's too late for that. He's traded credibility for financial stability a long time ago.
Yeah. And the thing that, Jeremy Scahill, and he's apparently been back publishing, but I haven't been paying attention effectively since he published the Puff Piece interview with AOC after the 2020 election. And then he published a expose, quote unquote, on Biden that went right up until he was vice president. But it covered all of his congressional corruption, but nothing while he was actually serving. I don't know. So I've been checked out on Jeremy Scahill. It makes me sad to see what's happened to The Intercept, but they are aligned with Bellingcat. They're aligned with NED. They're aligned with USAID, and they're pushing State Department talking points. They have acts like James Risen, that former CIA agent working there. They have a couple of good, quote unquote, good journalists that Glenn Greenwald still likes. Lee Fang, who's now a celebrity journalist on the left, to a point. They've got, I would not call, there are some people that would call Ryan Grim a good journalist still, and he gets a story right once in a while when they allow him to. He's the Washington bureau chief. He's off doing his breaking points, and not a big fan of Ryan Grimm's, to be honest with you. He's done some good work in the past. Helping Tara Reid get her story out was certainly one of the highlights, and I think that he's been living off of that reputation for a long time. And I think that kind of,
but the fact
we need to start holding him a lot more accountable.
Yeah. So Mate, to my knowledge, The Intercept is the first major U.S. journalism outlet to have someone from a U.S. government-funded organization, a U.S. intel front at that, sitting on its board of directors. Truly a milestone in independent journalism. So, what a fitting candidate for The Intercept's board of directors, a U.S. government-tied journalist who trashes Julian Assange. So, Alan McLeod, friend of the show. By the way, here's Maria Ressa in the top pick, throwing Assange under the bus while accepting her Nobel Prize.
Oops.
Oopsies.
Julian Assange's arrest. Do you think that that's good or bad for journalists? I have a different view because I think that the
Thank you, Alan McLeod.
wholesale dumping of WikiLeaks actually isn't journalism.
Okay. What? Huh? I'm sorry, did I not have the...
Yep.
Journalist sifts through.
No, you heard it.
And knows when something is of value to national security and withholds until you can verify that it isn't, that people who should not be put in harm's way by that information are protected. So
Which
I
he
think
did.
that this
Is blatantly
more evidence
saying that
of how
that's not what happened.
technology has changed the rules.
Yep.
And if we remember, it wasn't him that published it. It was who? Who forced
Michael Lee from the Guardian, who put the key as his chapter, as the name of a chapter in his book.
Like,
and how we're caught in the middle. We're all still trying to use rules of the past to define new situations. And I think one of the things we have to do with technology, with social media in particular, is to grab exactly where we are and create new rules. These are different times.
Different times.
This is another quote unquote progressive establishment narrative manager. She's Betsy Reed part 6. I mean, I don't even know what part she is at this point, but it's effectively the same person that keeps taking over and running this crap show that they call fierce adversarial journalism. I can't even get through it. Fierce adversarial journalism.
We're fucked.
You know.
Yes, we are.
So yeah, I actually ran a little poll today. If you can throw me up, I don't know if you have the ability to do that, but
I can find.
But here, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna turn off full bird here, and it should show.
Yeah, I can
screen 3.
There you go.
And do that. There you go. And I ran a poll, an impromptu and an anecdotal poll among my Twitter followers, and I have about 5,000. So this morning I put up a thing: is the Intercept compromised? And let's let the people decide. So we had 69 votes, more than 90%.
Very nice.
Effectively agree with us and said, yeah, we think that they're pretty compromised. And the thing that really bothers me and has bothered a lot of people about this is how they are selling themselves as quote unquote independent.
Yeah.
Now, what bothers me about this, and we can go back now, is that there are a lot of independent channels that are not funded at all, has 0% funding from billionaires, has zero connection to billionaires or to very highly connected folks. NED, USAID, State Department, Nobel Prize winners, narrative managers for the establishment. That's what truly independent media to me is. And these guys, they can claim that they are. Now, the other thing is that they're saying that this billionaire, Pierre Omidyar, who used to apparently fund a large percentage of them through the First Look Foundation, that he wasn't the only one. And that's another question that we have is, are there other billionaires that are going to be involved? Because there was a guy. Go ahead.
Indy, right on time. Pat is a managing director of the Omidyar Group and a senior advisor to philanthropist Pierre and Pam Omidyar, deeply committed to learning innovation and impact. Pat's experience spans several decades addressing social and health issues in the United States and abroad. Previously, Pat served as president and CEO of Hope Lab, an organization focused on the development of copium and the use of technology to drive positive health outcomes among young people. Prior to Hope Lab, Pat led the San Francisco AIDS Foundation for 15 years. There she played a role in crafting the federal Ryan White Care Act, which now provides more than $2.3 billion in AIDS funding annually. She also served as president of the Pangea Global AIDS Foundation, setting up AIDS clinics and planning an active role in global AIDS planning efforts, and helped steward construction of the Infectious Disease Institute at Makerere University in Kampala, Uganda, a state-of-the-art AIDS clinic research and training center. Indy, who was working on that AIDS stuff back then? There was a guy.
That would be Fauci.
That would be the guy. Fauci? That would be him. Him and Dr. Drew.
Yeah,
like literally. Dr. Drew's talked about this. Like, helped Dennis Rodman and this. Like, that's. Anyway. God.
Yes.
Okay, a little bit more. Marie and Pat's board appointments begin on April 1st. Andy will officially assume the role of CEO on May 1st. Roger Hodge will continue to lead the newsroom as editor-in-chief. Annie and Roger will report directly to the board of directors, ensuring that business and editorial are equal partners. On May 1st, I will resume my role as general counsel. So I wanted to really bring that sentence. Ensuring that business and editorial are equal partners. Okay? So when he tells you that business is not going to have any influence in their own article, business and editorial are equal partners.
But nah. What? Nah. What do you mean? What? Come on, guys. Independent means only a small percentage funded by billionaires and direct connection to business and NED and State Department. Come on.
Yep. So
hey, guys, works for TYT, doesn't it? I mean,
Ask them. The Post says that the Intercept inaugural CEO comes from a group funded by its owner Omidyar, as do the two members of the board on directors, one of whom is Omidyar's senior advisor. Yet you're saying that the Intercept is going fully independent from Omidyar. So
fully,
this guy
with a board seat.
This guy, Pierre Omidyar. I definitely wanted to bring this video, which we're going to watch and comment on. It's 4 minutes. We'll probably turn it into 20.
You can influence a lot of things and a lot of people with your money. And one of those things is politics. Money in politics concerns a lot of people on the left and the right, especially when billionaires' bucks flow through shadowy groups, some of them supposedly charitable organizations. You've probably heard of billionaires George Soros and Charles Koch. You know about Mark Zuckerberg, inventor of Facebook.
And
now meet Pierre Omidyar, founder of eBay and one of the biggest money men quietly using the charitable sector to fund his pet political causes.
Part of the PayPal model.
He's not the only one either. Yep.
Isn't he a PayPal guy too? Okay.
Founded eBay in 1995.
He's the founder. He's the founder of eBay. Oh yeah, he's the
skyrocketed to an estimated
founder of PayPal.
$6.6 billion. As Omidyar's wealth has increased,
there's another
so
guy
has his
on
financial
Twitter now.
Support of some of the most extreme leftist political causes.
Never heard
some
of
of
him.
the things.
Extreme leftist. Really? Really?
Breaking points is extreme.
Like.
Seriously? What the fuck?
Like. Fucking.
Yeah.
Omidyar has directly or indirectly funded include the so-called Media Democracy Fund, which aims to restrict free speech rights. The Center for
Claims to restrict free speech rights. Wasn't that the thing that the other lady was part of? Wasn't that the thing? Okay.
Secure and Modern Elections, a
yes.
pop-up that helped Mark Zuckerberg funnel $350 million into local election offices, effectively privatizing the 2020 election. The 2020 Census Project, likely part of the left's strategy to boost 2020 census data for blue states. And the Trusted Elections Fund, spawned to counter supposed Republican post-election day violence and silence disputes regarding election results after a Biden victory. Omidyar takes advantage of the uniquely American charitable sector that grants tax exemption to nonprofits. While charities were arguably never meant to fund politics outright, Omidyar and other leftist money men have been using the sector to do just that, and their investment has had serious consequences. The Omidyar Nexus
serious
is Capital
consequences.
Research Center's name for the roughly half-dozen groups Omidyar funds and leads in the San Francisco Bay Area. These groups include nonprofits that poured out over $1.2 billion between 2004 and 2020, most of it over the past few election cycles. Much of Omidyar's funding has gone to the concept of reimagining capitalism. The goal is to rebalance.
Where have we heard that before, Collin?
Yes.
Where have we heard that before?
Yes. Yes.
What is it?
He did a story on this.
Yes, the Hall of
God.
Inclusive. What is it? The
Yes.
Hall of
Yes.
Inclusive
That was-
Capitalism.
Yeah, that was one of our first streams.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was so confused by it.
You were like, "What is this? Why is the Pope here?"
Right.
Like, yeah, yep. Go back and find that. I forget what is it.
Yeah.
Isn't the organization for something like that? It was like
Something.
it's like the WEF rebranded itself to that.
Yeah.
Structural power between workers and the owners of capital. The irony here is that the money used to criticize capitalism is generated by the same capitalist
it
system
criticized-
it professes to hate. Omidyar Network
It wants to
LLC.
reimagine it. Sorry.
If you're a
Uh.
billionaire, you local election offices, likely Republican
Like-
post-election day election exemption to
Oh,
nonprofit.
goodness gracious.
Omidyar and other leftist money men have been
Like
using
funding the
sector
Maidan
to do
coup?
just
What?
that.
Oh, I didn't
And their
say that.
investment has
Allegedly.
had serious consequences.
That's the other PayPal guy.
The Omidyar Nexus is Capital
What?
Research Center's name for the roughly half-dozen groups Omidyar
that's this
funds
PayPal
and
guy.
leads in the San Francisco Bay Area. These groups include nonprofits that poured out over $1.2 billion between 2004 and 2020, most of it over the past few election cycles. Much of Omidyar's funding has gone to the concept of reimagining capitalism.
Dude.
The goal is to rebalance structural power between workers and the owners of capital. The irony here is that the
Hey,
money
pause
used
that.
to criticize capitalism
Yeah.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I wanted to see the list, but
is
I've seen
generated
that
by the
before.
same capitalist system it professes to hate. Omidyar Network LLC operates alongside Omidyar Network Fund, a private foundation that has paid out roughly 3/4 of the Nexus's grants since 2004. The foundation bankrolls many apolitical organizations focused on public health and tech. But it has also funneled close to $8 million
New Venture.
to New Venture Fund, the flagship of Arabella Advisors' famous $1.7 billion dark money activist network. Donors choose the Arabella network for one reason alone: to quietly fund politics behind the scenes. Add to that $10 million from Omidyar's Democracy Fund, another foundation with a lobbying arm, and it becomes clear the left has discovered how to funnel billions of tax-exempt dollars into political causes. This helps them elect Democrats and make policy while reaping the financial
Wait.
rewards meant for genuine philanthropy.
Wait.
Charity
guess
and
it-
activism.
Wait. It's a light bulb literally, and I think in the maybe similar, but like, could this be the reason why Bacon Points are pushing Marianne so hard?
Oh, for sure. And one of.
Uh-huh.
Like.
Sure.
Yep. Do you think Marianne wants to reimagine
But
capitalism?
like he doesn't want actual left stuff. No, it's Democratic Party, but it's not left. There's nothing left about it. It's right-wing capitalist with a little bit of social, social liberalism. But
Yep.
it's fiscally, there's nothing liberal about it. It's
Nope.
as monstrous and disaster capital, predator capitalism as any system's ever existed. And God, even Tucker Carlson had to admit that, well, capitalism isn't like a religion. It's not like a perfect system or anything.
No,
Like, we don't worship it. Yeah, except it. Yeah, he kind of does. But that's another story for another day.
Are not necessarily the same things. But Pierre Omidyar, like other leftist billionaires, has been quietly helping blur the lines behind the scenes to help one political ideology succeed while damaging what charity was originally designed to do: help people, not politicians, in need.
Oh, give me a break.
What?
Yep.
Okay,
What?
yes, no, he's exploiting charity is what they're saying, but this is from
All for
like
good
one of the
cause.
the Capital Research Institute. It's literally like the guys that are rock hard for capitalism, and they're calling this guy an anti-capitalist, a fucking billionaire that's built like 9 companies. That he's a capitalist, but he's an anti-capitalist. Like, okay. All right, guys. This is like selling that Joe Biden is a communist. I mean, this is the same kind of clownishness.
You know, I mean, I just want you to have a feeling for how Republicans try to use this as well. It's interesting. You know,
it's clownish.
It can be. So pretty impressive how many scam neocon disinformation projects the Intercept owner Pierre Omidyar is behind. The source for AP Russiagate propaganda is Reset, a London-based nonprofit that studies social media impact on democracy. Reset is funded by Omidyar. Here's the AP promo.
Now, what this is,
accounts try to steer America's online conversation about last month's train derailment in Ohio, right? That shit, which we've covered recently.
Yeah.
So,
like this weekend, we covered East Palestine, and we talked to the United for East Palestine people. So that we don't lose our creative director, I have to give homage for a second. And what Greg did, throw me back up there. Okay, Greg went at Ryan Grimm when he first published this too, and Ryan published this arrogant, stupid tweet about how we're not really billionaire funded. You can miss us with the billionaire funded because significantly less and declining as we've ramped up our reader contributions. Obnoxious and lying. So Greg says you can miss us with the billionaire funded thing, though technically it's still true. And Ryan, do people understand the difference between getting 10% and 100% of the funding from? So wait a minute.
I have most of
He just admitted okay, guys.
Yeah.
He just admitted right there that 100% of the funding for the Intercept was coming from a billionaire.
So
hello, they've been claiming that they've been independent for years, including while they've been owned by the First Look Foundation, and they've been user funded. And remember, they did this big fundraiser drive last year, help us stay independent. Okay, but beyond that, wait, you don't even know if it's 5 to 10%. I mean, Greg's got him here. All right, but here's my favorite one: Ryan Grimm, professional gaslighter. Amen, bro. Amen. I mean. This one should have gone super viral. I liked it. And he's got to gaslight further because he's a professional gaslighter. So he did. And by the way, Ryan, check the ratio. It's literally 26 likes. Nobody liked your tweet. Nobody in the entire world liked your tweet, bro. Okay. So thank you. Continue.
Here's Glenn Greenwald with a bit about this disinformation fraud system from Omidyar.
Industry called the anti-disinformation industry, in which all sorts of groups emerge with benign sounding names, almost always funded by the same small set of liberal billionaires like George Soros and Pierre Omidyar, or by the U.S. security state and Western security intelligence agencies that purport to be able to identify online what is and is not disinformation, claiming that they employ
This guy, in case people were wondering, worked where at one point? Isn't this the guy? Greenwald?
Yes.
He founded the Intercept with Pierre on Pierre's dime. I mean, originally it was supposed to be that Pierre was looking to make sure that independent journalism had a voice and that, leaks were able to happen outside of freedom from being, from worrying about your job. And that's why he started. And, it was Greenwald and Scahill and Laura Poitras, the three of them. Basically, they couldn't be fired.
Yep. But he ended up leaving because they silenced him on other stuff. So
experts who are trained in that field, even though it's a completely fraudulent field of discipline. There is no such thing as an apolitical disinformation expert. And yet every time one of these groups emerge, it feeds to the media whatever little report it has about who is spreading disinformation and who are pro-Russian accounts. And the media mindlessly spread it with no scrutiny or journalistic inquiry. Remember, the Twitter files revealed one of the worst frauds of all, the Hamilton 68 dashboard, invented in 2016.
Should have been the 69th, but
by a group led by
That's
Bill
how many
Kristol,
responses to the poll
with funding from Pierre Omidyar. that purported to keep a secret list of pro-Russian accounts and constantly made claims about stories being emanating not from American citizens or organically, but from pro-Russian accounts, even though it kept the list secret and refused to divulge it, only for Matt Taibbi and other reporters to be able to show with the Twitter files that it was essentially a list of just 600 people, mostly Americans, who simply had dissonant views on foreign policy that they labeled pro-Russian. Here we have yet another group that emerged to produce this extraordinary headline in AP just from yesterday, quote, pro-Moscow voices try to steer Ohio train disaster debate. And it's an article that just simply passed along uncritically the claims of this brand new group with almost no journalistic questioning. Quote, soon after a train derailed and spilled toxic chemicals in Ohio last month, anonymous pro-Russian accounts started spreading misleading claims and anti-American propaganda about it on Twitter, using Elon Musk's new verification system to expand their reach while creating the illusion of credibility. The accounts, which parroted Kremlin talking points on myriad topics, claimed without evidence that authorities in Ohio were lying about the true impact of the chemical spill. The accounts spread fear-mongering posts that preyed on legitimate concerns about pollution and health effects and compared the response to the derailment with America's support for Ukraine following its invasion by Russia. The accounts identified by Reset's researchers, Reset is this brand new group no one has ever heard of, that the AP just takes this report from and uncritically publishes, received an extra boost from Twitter itself in the form of blue check marks. Before Musk purchased Twitter last year, its check marks denoted accounts run by verified users, often public figures, celebrities, or journalists. It was seen as a mark of authenticity on a platform known for bots and spam accounts. While researchers spotted clues suggesting some of the accounts are linked to coordinated efforts by Russian disinformation agencies, others were American, showing the Kremlin doesn't always have to pay to get its message out. So if you are somebody reading about concerns about the train derailment and explosion in East Palestine and the botched response from the Biden administration and the Department of Transportation led by Pete Buttigieg, you were apparently joining in a Kremlin disinformation campaign and not, as you thought, criticizing your own government over what ought to have been the concerns of everybody, which were the health risks to the people of that community. Now suddenly we're to believe that this came from pro-Russian Twitter accounts. And it wasn't just AP that mindlessly and uncritically spread it. So too did all sorts of people with the HR title of journalist and corporate media. Here, for example, we see unsurprisingly, the tweet from the now fired CNN host Brian Stelter. And his tweet was just very representative of how the corporate media constantly just repeats claims like parrots with no questioning of any kind. Here is his tweet, quote, pro-Russian Twitter accounts hype misleading claims and, quote, anti-establishment propaganda about the East Palestine derailment, quote, using Elon Musk's new verification system to expand their reach while creating the illusion of credibility. David Klepper reports. By reports, he means took this new report from the Omidyar-funded group and just wrote up the press release, and that was the end of the story. In response to Brian Stelter's tweet, I asked him a set of questions that, of course, he ignored, that to me were just very obvious, are the questions that if somebody tried to give me a report like that, I would immediately ask. There you see my response, quote, which are the pro-Russian accounts? Who determines who is, quote, pro-Russia? How was that determination made? Do any of these questions enter your head even for a second before you just uncritically pass along claims like these?
Yeah, Glenn.
Now, even just the small amount of research reveals who it is who funds this group, and we'll get to that in a second, but we emailed this group, Reset, to ask exactly those questions. If we can put this on the screen, here was the email where, in order to do this reporting, we asked, quote, number one, where is the list of pro-Russian accounts? In other words, if you're claiming that this came from pro-Russian accounts, who are these pro-Russian accounts? Number two, how is this determination made? How do you decide who is pro-Russian and not? Is opposition to the U.S. proxy war in Ukraine sufficient to become, quote, pro-Russian? Who knows? It's a secret list and a secret formula. Number 3, has anyone reviewed the list to verify its accuracy? And number 4, please provide a few sample names of those who were on it. You could tell by a couple of the quotes mentioned in the AP article which anonymous or pseudonym accounts were included on the list, but it was very difficult to understand why those accounts were listed as pro-Russian. But how can you call yourself a journalist if all you do is take a list or a claim from a new group that just pops up without mentioning who their funding is and has a secret list of pro-Russian groups it refuses to divulge, and then create headlines that stories that are actually coming from real Americans are instead being pushed by the Kremlin? Here, right on their funding page,
Is that proprietary? Is that what they're claiming?
You can see that it's yet another group, like so many of these groups, funded by the eBay billionaire Pierre Omidyar, who, full disclosure, also funded the Intercept when I was there. You see it, it says that the group, this new group, Reset, it's a nonprofit, and their founding funders are Luminite and the Sandor Foundation. Luminite is a global philanthropic organization that funds and supports nonprofit and for-profit organizations and advocates for the policies and actions that helps build stronger societies. It was founded by the Omidyar Group, a diverse collection of companies, organizations, and initiatives established by Pierre Omidyar, the founder of eBay, and his wife Pam. Reset is a program of Luminite Projects Limited that is a UK limited company owned by Luminite, founded by the Omidyar Group, a US-based philanthropic network. Over and over and over, this is exactly what we have, which is these shady groups that appear claiming to have secret lists like Joe McCarthy had of people they claim are promoting pro-Russian propaganda. No one can see those lists. No one has any idea how this determination was made or who is making these assessments. And the media just creates uncritical headlines based on them. This story is now a Kremlin a Kremlin plot. This story is being pushed by pro-Russian accounts. This is what happened after 2016. When Democrats realized they lost the election and decided to blame not themselves, but among other things, a free internet, and decided to fund this whole scam industry that now calls any dissent from their orthodoxy disinformation and blames any stories they dislike, such as criticizing the Biden administration for its failure to respond to this train disaster in an appropriate way, as coming from pro-Russian accounts, in order to demean it. It's an incredibly transparent tactic. It's incredibly shady, and yet it's one that the corporate media, as always, falls for because they want to. There's zero journalistic questioning about any of this, and Reset, of course, fails to provide the most basic answers to the most basic questions, ones that should have been asked by AP before publishing that story.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and just to be clear, that same Omidyar funded what coup? Helped.
Right on.
Oh, where's that at?
A little place that we dumped $100 billion and $150 billion into, called the Ukraine, right? In 2014. He's been involved there for a long time.
And a company he funds gets to dictate what is and isn't Russian disinformation? That Brian still okay.
Well, he would say that he's not involved and that he's got a layer of protection or whatever it is. But just like with the Intercept, he's not going to be involved.
Right, yeah. He was not going to
Right, but he's going to have a board. He's going to have a board member. All right, and the general counsel is going to be loyal to him. And he's got Maria Ressa in there, who aligns talking points wise with him. Yeah, but no, they're just going to be. It's fine. So, it's totally independent, guys. Totally independent.
Paragon on Twitter, I don't know if I'd call having a senior advisor to Omidyar on the board being fully independent. Ryan Grimm responds, that's fair. Thought I wouldn't call that dependent either. Omidyar will probably represent less than 10% of giving after that drawdown, except business.
10% of what? 6
What about the
billion
10%?
is
What about the 10%? What about the 10? What about the 10%? What about it, huh?
10%. Their 10%. By the way, the 10% we're talking about there is about $2.5 million. Their operating budget annually is about $25 million for the Intercept, as far as I remember from First Look's disclosures when they were with First Look Media.
Of course,
So
Collin
10%.
would recognize 10%. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, what about
What
that
about the 10%?
What about it?"
Collin knows what 10%.
Yep. Interesting. Did ignore the board member connection comment though. In the nonprofit world, if you give more than a small amount to an organization, so again, Omidyar using nonprofits again, like he does everywhere, usually comes with a board.
Sounds like a guy named Bill. Seems like a guy named Bill.
No exception
Very similar
here.
model.
The board has zero role in editorial, except editorial and business are on equal footing.
But that's
That
not the
was
board. That's the
last
business.
That was the last. Like what?
Yes.
Seriously? What the fuck?
Well,
So,
like Greg said, Ryan Grimm, professional gaslighter.
oh
Amen.
yeah. So you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth then, replies a drunken unicorn. No. We're becoming a legal independent outlet, and Omidyar is significantly drawing down funding. It's possible he remains a donor at some small level. We're not against taking some of his money if it's on offer, but for 90% of our support, we'll be looking elsewhere. Except you don't know how much support you're gonna get. You can guess. But like if the coffers are looking a little low,
Right.
we'll take some
Honestly,
more
Like, who is giving money? Like normal people. Who's giving to the Intercept?
independent from what words have meaning. So
Well, they were getting money from their subscribers. I believe it was like $60, somewhere to between 60 and $100 a year, or a few bucks a month. They also take donations, and they are, I believe, a 501c, whatever they were.
yeah,
The Intercept Foundation or whatever.
Like,
so
yeah, but they're not gonna. But they're not gonna necessarily. It's the same thing with breaking points. They're not going to rely on like
right. These are
small dollar
members of
donations in order to keep them afloat. They're gonna need corporate money or
Well, and
big
bringing
donor
on-
money.
bringing on people that are connected to NED, people
Right.
connected to multiple like foundations and that are funded through and laundered through, and like I love how he tries to be snarky, and so you can miss us with the billionaire funded thing now, though it is technically still true.
Well,
fucking look, read that.
Oh, we didn't miss you.
With the billionaire funded thing now, though it is basically still true. That's still true.
You got buzzsawed,
bro. Still fucking still
miss us. Right, you circle miss us still true. Miss us still true. Okay, we got to move on, please. My blood pressure is going up. Come on.
We were founded in 2013 as a 100% Omidyar-backed outlet. That has come down significantly and will draw down to under 10% or maybe even 0. Until then, he'll have a rep on the board. A 180-degree turn would be impossible. It's a process, and one I assume you support. Who is he replying to?
Jimmy Dore.
What percentage is coming from Omidyar? That remains to be seen. I think it would be nice if he stays at 5 to 10% long term. So here we go. Yeah. We have new character enters the RBN. Ryan finally gave up on RBN. He tried and tried, but finally realized RBN ain't buying his ruling class garbage. This is the tweet that got us blocked by Ryan Grimm. The PMCs that protect the progressive democratic narrative hate RBN so much. Mwahahaha. Ha ha ha. And he's retweeting errands. Ryan Grimm continues his lies for the ruling class. Talking about Omidyar stuff. So calling him out for blocking us got him to unblock us. Notice it shows we don't follow each other. That's what happens when you follow someone, then block them, then unblock them. So
Well,
yep. Anyway,
the Intercept sucks. Okay, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it loud.
Moral of the story.
Fuck the Intercept. The Intercept sucks. Reality Winner, they fuck over whistleblowers. Ask Misty about Reality Winner. She'll talk your head off about how they fucked over Reality Winner. Where are the Snowden archives? Thanks, Pierre. Just decided to shut them down. These guys suck. All right. Can I be any stronger? Ryan Grimm, your organization sucks. I'm done.
And by association, Breaking Points, who are also funded by Omidyar, also sucks.
Also
and everyone
sucks.
within that, and also within that
partially.
bubble.
I don't even know how much they're funded by Omidyar. I know that
5-10%?
what's his name?
What about
Reed
10%?
Hoffman had. Well, no, the Reed Hoffman had funded Crystal a while back, and that helped her. And now they have they got $1 million endowment from their legacy whatever investors. So they're all good now. They $1 million. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So so they're just fine with their corporate funding at this point, and they have their founding members that pay $1,500 to be members of Breaking Point for a lifetime membership. And good on them, but they've got over 700 people. They claim. Yeah, well, no, they got this desk. We got to get this. We got to pay for this desk. So, yeah.
We can do this circle
Intercept
forever.
sucks. Yeah, grow up.
Let's
grow up, Christo. Let's grow up.
Who are these people?
Who are they?
They're the paid narrative managers. Yeah, but we'll continue to call them out.